Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Daily Rollup, or welcome to the Daily Rollup if this is your first time coming in. My name is Kagan Dunlap, and Monday through Friday, we put together 5 to 7 stories that we find interesting, whether it be geopolitics, military-affiliated stories, or just current events and current affairs, and we mash it into one short video that's usually between 10 to 20 minutes long, and basically give you a daily update brief on things that are happening around the world that are unfolding on a daily basis that maybe you wouldn't hear from the mainstream media. So the point of this is to provide you with information and with news that's unfiltered and unbiased, so that way you can interpret it and make a decision how you feel about it on your own. So without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, so the first story I wanted to talk to you about today is going to be about the Midtown Manhattan shooter, because that was the breaking news last night. And obviously, as this thing unfolded, more information came out. And now, you go in 7 hours, 8 hours after the event transpired, there's a lot more information that's been released or been discovered. So I wanted to provide you with a good, solid, thorough update of everything that transpired, so that way you have all the information you could possibly need to understand exactly what happened, when it took place, and where we're at right now. So on July 28th, as all of you are probably very aware of by now because it was breaking news all over the place, there was a mass shooting that occurred in Midtown Manhattan at around 345 Park Avenue, which is a 44-story office tower that's housing the NFL headquarters, Blackstone, KPMG, and Rudin Management. Now, a lone gunman who is armed with basically an AR-15 style rifle entered the building during evening rush hour, and he ended up taking the lives of 4 separate people, including an off-duty New York Police Department officer, and also critically injuring 1 person before dying by a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Now, the incident, which only lasted minutes apparently, prompted a massive police response and a lockdown of the area near Grand Central Terminal and St. Patrick's Cathedral. Now, authorities have loaned it as a lone actor event with no ongoing threat so far, but the motive still remains under investigation at this time. Now, here's the timeline of events to kind of provide you with a little context of when things started happening. So around 4:24 p.m., the suspect's black BMW was last spotted in Columbia, New Jersey, before entering New York City. Around 6:28 to 6:30 p.m., the suspect double parked the BMW outside of 345 Park Avenue, and he exited the vehicle with an M4 or AR-15 style rifle, wearing body armor, like wearing a bulletproof vest. And he entered the lobby of the building. You've seen all the photos of him walking in, basically holding the rifle with one hand, strolling up in there. He immediately opened fire, killing an off-duty NYPD officer who was working security, and then a woman hiding behind a pillar, and a security guard at the elevator bank, and then another man in the lobby. So those 4 people. Shortly after that, the suspect allowed a woman to exit an elevator unharmed, and then he rode it to the 33rd floor, which led him to Rudin Management offices. Now, once he got up there, he fired additional rounds and took the life of another person before fatally taking his from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Now, the immediate response was New York Police Department officers arrived within minutes, and about 20 of them entered the building while the entire area was locked down, with nearby buildings that were instructed to remain in shelter in place because nobody 100% knew where this guy was located, and apparently there was rounds getting shot off from the building. Workers were fleeing and barricading themselves. Some were trapped for up to 2 hours. By the evening time, police cleared the building and evacuated all the occupants, and then confirmed that the shooter was deceased, after which the New York Police Department bomb squad searched the suspect's vehicle, finding no explosives. The investigation remains ongoing into the night and into July 29th with FBI assistance currently. Now, the gunman's name was identified. He was identified as Shane Devon Tamura, who is 27 years old and was a resident of Las Vegas, Nevada. He acted alone with no apparent prior connections to New York City or the targeted building. Apparently, a little bit about his background is he spent his youth in California, attending Golden Valley High School in Santa Clarita and Granada Hills, or Charter High School in Los Angeles, where he played football as a senior in 2015. He later worked as a security guard at a Las Vegas casino and held a private investigator license. He had a documented history of mental health issues, with Las Vegas authorities noting contact just 2 weeks prior. His criminal record included a 2023 misdemeanor for trespassing and and recent traffic citations in Nevada. He also held a Nevada work card for security professions, though it did not authorize carrying firearms. Now, apparently he drove across the country in a black BMW registered to him, tracked via license plate readers. Apparently he passed through Colorado on July 26th, Nebraska and Iowa on July 27th, and New Jersey on July 28th. He obviously, like I said before, he transported an M4 or AR-15 style assault rifle and wore body armor during the attack. In his vehicle, police found a rifle case with rounds, a loaded revolver, additional ammunition, and magazines in a backpack, prescription medication, and also they discovered that he had obtained a concealed carry permit on June 14th, 2022 that's valid for 5 years. Now, so far, they said there's 4 people who were actually lost their lives as a result that died from this, while others sustained minor injuries while fleeing. The 4 people who died include a 36-year-old New York Police Department officer named Officer Didarul Islam, who is an immigrant from Bangladesh, a 3.5-year veteran assigned to the 47th Precinct in the Bronx, and he was working a paid security detail job at the building, like as an outside gig from his police job, and he was the one that was shot in the lobby. His wife was 8 months pregnant when he left her behind, and he has 2 young boys. So that's awful. So yeah, he leaves behind a pregnant wife that's 8 months pregnant, about to give birth, and 2 young boys. I hope there's some sort of pension, some sort of like thing that's going to help take care of them. There's an unidentified woman that lost her life in the lobby while she was hiding behind the pillar. Identity is still withheld pending the family notification. They want to make sure the next of kin is notified rather than them find out from the news. Another unidentified security guard who has lost their life at the elevator bank / security desk in the lobby also has their identity being withheld because they're probably pending next of kin notification. Another unidentified man who lost his life in the lobby, identity is still withheld. And then the critically injured victim, who is an NFL employee, was seriously wounded but in stable condition at the hospital. Name has not been released. NFL is providing support to the family, and they're probably just keeping that, on the down low for now. The 3 civilian fatalities consisted of 2 women and 1 man with identities pending notification. Now, so far, the official response from the New York Police Department commissioner was that they confirmed that the individual was a lone actor, detailed the suspect's actions and mental health history, and praised Officer Islam's sacrifice. Mayor Eric Adams called it a, quote, violent and despicable attack, end quote. And he visited the officer's family. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell expressed gratitude to law enforcement and noted support for the injured employee, while Governor Kathy Hochul was briefed and urged avoidance to the area, while federal officials, including the FBI, pledged full support to investigate the situation. Yeah, so it doesn't look like they've discovered what motives there were behind the attack or what was going on with this guy, why he drove all the way from Las Vegas to New York to do this. I'm sure they're going to be putting connections together to try to figure out if maybe this guy, I don't know, maybe he had some sort of grudge against one of the companies in the building. I don't know. But the FBI is investigating this, and a lot of other federal law enforcement agencies are investigating this. So I'm sure that we're going to find out more information in the coming days and weeks as they continue their investigation. But fortunately, there wasn't more people who lost their life, because that was a very insane response. I haven't seen a response like that in a while. For those of you that are out there, what is the significance of the 33rd floor? Do you guys know what that significance is? Because I saw people talking about the 33rd floor all over social media, and I'm not sure what that means or if there's a significance behind it. So if there is, let us know in the comments. Anyway, that's all that I have on that story. So moving on. So as a lot of you are probably aware, there were peace talks and ceasefire talks that were held in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, that were mediated by the Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim for Cambodia and Thailand. Now, the acting Prime Minister of Thailand and the Prime Minister of Cambodia met up there in Kuala Lumpur, and the Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim mediated the two, and they held bilateral talks at multiple levels, and they had determined they were going to allow Malaysia to deploy observers for implementation of this ceasefire to make sure that neither side is violating the terms, right? And they shook hands on camera, they took pictures, there's a whole thing, right? There's negotiations, all kinds of stuff. So we thought we were good yesterday. Despite the fact that they met up and had this agreement, the ceasefire broke down almost immediately, apparently. Reports indicated that there were clashes that resumed near the border in the Trat province at a little bit after midnight on July 29th, with Cambodia allegedly launching an attack, leading to hostilities around, 12:33 at night. And then Thailand's army accused Cambodia of violations, claiming sporadic clashes continuing despite the truce. Now, analysts have described this ceasefire as, quote, ceasefire illusion, end quote, highlighting the absence of enforcement mechanisms like signed agreements, deployed observers, or disengagement protocols. Now, as of July 29th of 2025, the border still shows sign of calm, with some displaced residents returning home and military commanders holding talks. However, it's still very tense, and the situation definitely remains fluid. And Thailand put out a message saying the Cambodian side violates the ceasefire agreement. The Thai side must respond accordingly to the situation. Efforts continue for meetings and discussions between military leaders of both countries. And that looks like it's from some sort of local news agency from Thailand. So now, both sides are claiming that there's been violations substantiated by their own respective reports, though independent verification is still pretty limited, and they need to put some foreign observers in that are going to be unbiased to make sure that they're both staying true to this, because obviously it's not good for their populations if they're at war with each other. So hopefully this is just like a small tiff and they can get past it, be like, all right, that's enough. Let's all chill out. Let's eat a moon pie. Let's stop. So some clashes between Greek police and protesters erupted on the Greek island of Rhodes on July 28th of 2025 when the Israeli-owned cruise ship Crown Iris docked at the island's port. Now, the protests that were taking place on the island were pro-Palestinian protesters who are against the situation that's been ongoing in Gaza, and around 100 to 300 people showed up, and then Greek riot police showed up to kind of disperse the crowd so that way the cruise ship could unload their passengers, and it ended up leading to some minor disturbances and clashes, and 13 people got arrested, including a local politician. After they were able to kind of shut the protest down a little bit, or at least get it to calm down, the 600 passengers aboard the ship were able to disembark, and there was no incidents virtually after that. They were welcomed by the local businesses and were able to go about their day. Now, this is following similar types of unrest on the island of Syros, which happened the previous week, where the same ship was forced to depart early because there's too much demonstrations going on the island, and there's over 150 activists there for similar reasons, protesting the war in Gaza and things like that. So Greek authorities have had to deploy riot police to manage the situation and protect tourism in various locations throughout Greece, because there's been a trend of unrest from anti-Israel sentiment throughout the Greek island chain. Now, while the island of Rhodes has experienced other forms of unrest in recent years, specifically from wildfires in 2023 that led to mass evacuations, and also a magnitude 5.8 earthquake in June of 2025, these protests are more geopolitical related. So anybody who's traveling has been advised by local media to avoid any of the protest areas, and Greek authorities have warned of potential strikes and demonstrations. It looks like Ukrainian forces have launched another large-scale drone attack on Russia's Rostov Oblast, targeting railway infrastructure in the city of Salsk on the evening of July 28th, leading into the 29th. Now, the assault resulted in a major fire at the Salsk railway station, where a fuel train and surrounding facilities were reportedly struck, leading to significant disruptions. Apparently, the governor of Rostov confirmed the attack, stating that a man lost his life when a drone hit his car in Salsk, and that a fire broke out at the station after the attack. Local reports and videos that had been shared on social media showed a big flame engulfing the tanker, cars, tracks, and buildings, with thick black smoke being visible at least 30 kilometers away. Now, this is part of a broader Ukrainian effort to interrupt Russian logistics trains coming into Ukraine to supply them in their ongoing efforts in the region. Because obviously, the more they can interrupt Russian logistics coming into Ukraine, the more weakened position that the Russians will be in that are inside of Ukraine, that are currently occupying territory in Ukraine. Now, as a result of this attack, at least 9 long-distance passenger trains were delayed, with some stops lasting up to 5 hours. This specific attack marks the 4th drone attack on the Rostov region's railway system within the past month, which shows that the Ukrainians are specifically trying to target these logistics trains civilians in that region. So apparently a couple of Russians crashed into each other in this video while they were out riding dirt bikes out in the field, like field bikes. Yeah, you be careful on those corners, man. Those corners will get you if you're not careful. I wonder how often this kind of thing happens. I've seen so many clips of Russians accidentally like hitting their own people with cars before. I've seen Russians accidentally crashing into each other with four-wheelers. I've seen Russians wreck on dirt bikes now. I've seen a lot of videos of people just wrecking their vehicle constantly. Like, imagine how many destroyed vehicles or wrecked vehicles are just strewn about the landscape all over Ukraine after like the past 3 years of this conflict. It's probably a lot, which always brings us back to like how long you think the cleanup's going to be. Probably going to take a long time. Russian forces conducted another ballistic missile attack on the city of Kamyansk in Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, which ended up striking a medical facility, resulting in civilian casualties on July 29th of 2025. According to multiple reports, the strike targeted or damaged a maternity hospital and adjacent therapeutic departments, resulting in the deaths of at least 3 people, including a 23-year-old pregnant woman named Diana, who was 6 months pregnant at the time, and also 2 other Ukrainian civilians. Additionally, it injured 5 other people. Apparently, the missile hit on or near the grounds of the maternity hospital, causing significant damage to the facility's premises, including the therapeutic ward. Now, this is just one strike out of several that were conducted on Ukrainian civilian infrastructure on July 29th, because there was another deadly strike on a prison in Zaporizhia that resulted in the deaths of 17 inmates and injuring over 80. So it seems to me that until they can get some sort of peace, the indiscriminate, assault on civilian infrastructure is going to probably continue. All right, so this leads us to the last story of the day, which is airdrops in Gaza. So on July 29th of 2025, the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, Jordan, and Egypt all conducted joint airdrops of humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip, marking a coordinated effort to deliver essential supplies amid the ongoing challenges in the region. Obviously, there's been a lot of mixed statements on what's actually happening, because you've got the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is a U.S.-Israeli joint effort, and they have tons of food there. However, the United Nations is refusing to work with them because they're saying that they're putting the Palestinian people in danger in the way that they're trying to distribute the food. And then the UN is also using the World Food Bank and other alternatives to try to distribute it. Meanwhile, the IDF has put like a temporary pause, like a tactical pause during certain times of day, every day of the week, to allow for food distribution to actually happen. Now, backtracking, this operation with the airdrop from the UAE, Jordan, and Egypt involved military cargo aircraft from the 3 different countries, dropping a total of 52 pallets of aid, each weighing approximately 1 ton apiece, for an estimated total of 52 tons, targeting both northern and southern areas of Gaza. Now, the aid primarily consisted of food, water, and other relief supplies intended for civilians in hard-to-reach locations due to security constraints on the land routes that are leading there. Now, the Israeli Defense Forces coordinated with them to ensure that these airdrops were able to happen, and the coordinator of government activities in the territories as part of a broader initiative to enhance humanitarian access while addressing claims of restricted air delivery. Now, this is the first time that Egypt has participated in an airdrop operation since the start of the current conflict in Gaza, which shows that they're taking a significant step in involvement in the situation on the ground. For the United Arab Emirates and Jordan, the effort built on their ongoing, quote, Birds of Goodness initiative under Operation Chivalrous Night, this being their 56th joint airdrop on the 3rd consecutive day of deliveries. Since the initiative's launch, the UAE and Jordan operations have delivered a cumulative 3,763 tons of aid using 195 aircraft. There's been footage that's been distributed across social media showing the operation in action, with parachutes descending over a damaged urban landscape in Gaza to local residents, including children, running towards the landing sites to collect the packages under clear skies. Now, the airdrops have been described as a small lifeline to support the affected populations who have been suffering from severe malnutrition and starvation across the region. There have also been announcements that there's going to be potential similar involvement from other nations like Germany and also Spain. All right, guys, that's all we have time for today. Unfortunately, I appreciate you all tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something about things that are going on around the world today. I know some of this is kind of dark and it can be kind of like depressing sometimes, but I'm trying to just stay informed and know what's going on around the world. So appreciate you guys joining. Please let us know in the comments below if you thought that there was something we did well in this video, or if there's things that you think we can improve upon. So that way myself and the editors can read that and continue to improve this product as we move forward and continue to provide you with information. So let us know what you thought about in this video in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next video.